Good evening, class, and welcome to Lesson 3.12, Choose a Method. We will begin by taking a look at our essential question. Which method could you choose to find decimal sums and differences? And remember, sums is the answer to an addition problem, and differences is the answer to a subtraction problem. Well, we're going to begin answering that question by taking a look at our Unlock the Problem. At a track meet, Stephen entered the long jump. His jumps were 2 and 2500 meters, 1 and 8100 meters, and 3 and 7500 meters. What was the total distance Stephen jumped? To find decimal sums, you can use properties and mental math, or you can use paper and pencil. So we're going to underline the sentence that tells you what you are trying to find. Well, that is simply the question to our word problem. What was the total distance Stephen jumped? Next, circle the numbers you need to use. Well, his jumps were 2 and 2500 meters, 1 and 8100 meters, and 3 and 7500 meters. So we would circle all three of those numbers. Now, it asked, what operation will you use? Well, it kind of tells us in this word problem. It says, what was the total? And we know that total means to add. We also have three different length jumps that he did, combined with and, which also means to add. So we would be using addition. Now it says, to find decimal sums, you can use properties and mental math, or you can use paper and pencil. So one way is to use properties and mental math, and that is to add 2 and 2500ths, and 1 and 8100ths, and 3 and 7500ths. So if we combine 2 and 2500ths, and 1 and 8100ths, and 3 and 7500ths, we can actually use the commutative property to rearrange our add-ins. By doing so, then we would add 2 and 2500ths and 3 and 7500ths, and if you notice, we have put those in parentheses, so now we are using the associative property. So we add the 2 in parentheses together, and that gives us 6 plus 1 and 8100ths equals 7 and 8100ths. Another way is to simply just add our add-ins together. And 5 plus 1 is 6, plus 5 is 11. Carry our 1. 8 plus 2 is 10, plus 7 is 17, plus 1 is 18. Carry our 1. Keep our decimals in line because we are adding. 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So the total distance Stephen jumped was 7 and 8100ths meters. All right, let's try it. In 1924, William D. Hart Hubbard won a gold medal with a long jump of 7 and 4400ths meters. In 2000, Roman Shurenko won the bronze medal with a jump of 8 and 3100ths meters. How much longer was Shurenko's jump from Hubbard's? Well, we have to find the question we need to answer, and that is how much longer was Shurenko's jump from Hubbard's? And we have to look for the numbers that we need to use. So Hubbard had a long jump of 7 and 4400ths meters, and Roman Shurenko had a jump of 8 and 3100ths meters. Now we do notice that it says how much longer, and when we see that, we know we need to subtract. So we got 8 and 3100ths minus 7 and 4400ths. Well, we cannot do 1 minus 4, so we need to borrow. Makes that a 2, that makes that an 11. 11 minus 4 is 7. Now again, we cannot do 2 minus 4, so we have to borrow again. So our 2 becomes a 12. 12 minus 4 is 8. We must keep our decimals in line because we are subtracting, and 7 minus 7 is 0. So we see that it is 8700ths meters longer than Hubbard's. Now, it asks why you cannot use the commutative property or the associative property to find the difference between two decimals. And the reason you can't do that is because in subtraction, you cannot change the order of the numbers. For example, what that basically means is we cannot rearrange our two numbers here. We cannot do 7 and 44 hundredths minus 8 and 31 hundredths, because we cannot have the bigger number on the bottom. We cannot subtract that way. That is a no-no. So that's why we cannot use the commutative property or the associative property. And that's why both of those are for addition or multiplication only. All right, guys, our password for tonight is going to be door. Please make sure that you record that and bring it with you to class tomorrow as proof that you've watched the video. All right, have a good evening, and I'll see you then.